All right.
See ya.
Oh, Seth, that's you. I was like, who's Fiona? Hi. All right. Okay, looks like
See ya.
Dan's coming in and then we can get started. Oh, Seth, that's you. I was like, who's Fiona? Hi. Okay. It is 6:02. Want to welcome everyone to the Casa Esperanza Board of Directors meeting here for May 20th, 2021. We will begin here by having our conflict of interest statement read, followed by our school mission statement, please.
Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of this board. Does any member of the board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. Now, the mission statement. Casa Esperanza Montessori educates students using the Montessori philosophy and Spanish language acquisition in a way that develops independent, self-motivated individuals who possess the critical thinking skills necessary to become responsible global citizens.
Thank you. Next, we need to approve our agenda. I do have 3 items to add to the agenda. I want to put that before the board for approving. We have first a revised contract template. Next, utility gas retro expenses. That's an item that wasn't prepared from one of our previous agendas, but we do need to address that tonight. And lastly, considering membership for the Association of Public Charter Schools. So if you all can see that, I've put in blue the 3 items to be added. Are there any other changes or comments before voting on the agenda? Okay, if none, could we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the addition of these 3 items?
Ms. Taylor?
I'm sorry?
Yes, hi. Are you planning to go into closed session today?
Ma'am, it's not currently on our agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I need to ask everyone to please remain muted other than during the public comment.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended. This is Dan.
I'll second Alice.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next up, the approval of minutes. For today, we have the minutes from our meeting on May 10th. The ones from the May 6th meeting will be considered at the following meeting. So those have been provided in the packet to the board. Are there any edits to be made? All right. If no edits, could we have a motion, please, to approve the minutes from May 10th?
Motion to approve. This is Seth.
Second,
I can second Alice.
all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Next is time for public comment. If we have anyone for public comment, please go ahead and enter your name in the chat. We'll allow a moment for that.
You have so many more games than I do. Don't worry, you'll catch up. What do you mean? You'll see.
Okay. We have Ms. Harlow. Again, if there's any others wanting public comment, feel free to enter your name, Ms. Harlow. Go right ahead.
Hey everyone, I'm Noelle Harlow. I am a parent at Casa Esperanza. I have 2 children there. Actually, Sage is not in kindergarten anymore, but he will be next year. My daughter Jordan is 9. And I do know that there are a few other people that I think went to the wrong meeting. Hopefully they'll get here. I want to speak about the continual cyclical nature of the crisis of the board. Specifically, I would like the board to look at changing the bylaws, to look at Article 4, Section 5, which excludes employees of Casa Esperanza. One of the reasons we're here today is because we haven't consulted with the teachers properly. That article needs to change. A simple majority of the board would change that. I was on a board at my son's preschool, which was a cooperative preschool, and they actually required a teacher to be on the board, at least 1, if not 2. That ensures that the teacher's perspective is given weight. I'm concerned that I've only been here for a couple of years, but I understand this type of crisis isn't new. And some of you have even gone on the board because of the former crisis that happened before now. I would really implore you again to look at Article 4, Section 5, which specifically excludes employees of Casa Esperanza, the teachers that are affected by the decisions that you all have made. The 8 people on the board have voted to decrease the compensation of the teachers without teachers even being present. In fact, they're specifically excluded. So again, in order to try to change this like crisis nature of things that keep happening at Casa, I would really like for there to be a structural change in the way that we include the teachers here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harlow. Ms. Mogos?
Hi, thank you again for letting me speak. I guess I'm trying to see if there is any communication. It might be today that it is coming. I'm hoping that we get some kind of a reply. Usually when parents speak, there's always a follow-up email answering the questions, and it seems since the last board meeting there wasn't any, so I'm hoping for that, and it might be today. And the other part I was going to ask is, I know that you guys discussed there's other benefits or monetary that the teachers will get, and again that's another one I'm hoping that we get a more clarity to see what they would get. I know one of them was, you know, if they got Montessori training, but majority of our teachers are Montessori training or have Montessori training done already. And then others was such as if they I'm trying to think, I think growth would actually is not a benefit to the immersion. And again, like Noelle was saying, if you had a teacher on that case, we wouldn't know that because students are learning a whole new language. So it takes a long time for them to get to that growth. So that kind of question would help with having a teacher on the board. And I would love those kind of answers sent to the community as far as, okay, so you're thinking about this plan, but what are the alternatives? What are, just things like that. Better communication is what I'm hoping for. And thank you again.
Thank you. Diego Eisenberg.
Okay. I'm here, sorry. Good afternoon again. Thanks for everyone and the board taking time and trying to help us figure this out. I have a question as far as if the bylaws can be changed or not, but it wouldn't be nice, I think, and I'm speaking with I think a lot of parents think the same way. When something major like this is gonna take place, if there can be like a referendum that it can be done publicly, where without us, all of the parents, because of course, if not everybody will have a voice, but being at the board, but at least some type of referendum where you put like a survey or something where we as parents can have an input. So at least you guys know exactly how most of the parents of the school think before making such a drastic decision. So in any topic, I think it'll be nice that you as board and parents of kids there also know what other parents that are not included in the board knows or thinks about your ultimate decisions. So maybe an online referendum again, or a survey, it will kind of give you an idea of what we all think. So that'll be an idea maybe. Also, talking about conflict of interest, and I don't know if this is the case, I'm just putting it out there. As far as the land goes, because as you know, building prices are crazy high. So I don't think putting money on a new building that when we have in this type of crisis on the worst building time makes financial sense. And also we as parents don't know who, if the land is gonna be owned by Casa, who's gonna own it if it's not Casa, what are the interests? Because if it's an investor, of course, at the end of the day, they want money or a benefit out of this investment. So how, be nice to know also how the investor or not, like I said, we don't know who's gonna end up owning the land. What it'll be benefits to Casa in the long run, or in the investors, what are the requirements for them to give out the land to Casa? Those are my two questions, besides, of course, if you already have an answer on the teachers' retirement plan. Thank you.
Nobody cares about your weird little secrets.
Thank you.
Just about this stupid medication.
Miranda.
We're going through something, huh? What?
Can we mute people?
Yeah, give me 1 second. All right.
Okay. Did you mute everybody? Am I still muted?
You're not muted.
Okay. Thank you. Was there a like finalized decision and put that like out? I missed half or part of this meeting because I did not know that there was a link change. And it would have been really nice to have that given out like via email with the agenda. That would have been super nice. Either way, I would like to thank you for listening. I have been scouring the website for notes and minutes and figuring out how this decision was made. And I was unable to find any of that. And I know that a lot of it is on myself for not being part of board members or board meetings before now. But I would have hoped that minutes and things like that would have been a quick catch up for anybody who went looking for them. So I feel like I would love to see a lot more transparency and a lot more asking for collaboration from the parents. I know that I have not seen any board member or anything like that ask, hey, we want your help and we want your input. And while sometimes that might be scary to get that input, it is still valuable to always have anyone's perspective on that. And so moving forward, I would love to see some of that, of like the board actually reaching out to the parents for collaboration, or the whole school working as one whole and not necessarily as three different entities. So that's all I have to say today.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else signed up for public comment? You can enter your name into the chat. I have changed the chat so messages go to me as the chair, because as we mentioned at a previous meeting, entering comments in the chat during the meeting is extending comments. So it doesn't remove your ability to enter your name if you'd like. I will still be able to see your name. Okay. Miss Jennifer, I can't see the last name.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Harrison. I am a parent of 3 children, 2 of which are at Casa. I was a school teacher for 12 years in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. I've been a parent now for 14 years, navigating public schools and now charter schools. I've also been a substitute teacher at Casa for the past 2 years. So for the past 2 years, I've been in and out of Casa probably on a weekly basis. And I feel like I have a lot of different perspectives on the school, as a parent, as a teacher, as a substitute. Casa is such a gem. And it makes me so sad that this gem of a community and the wonderful teachers and faculty and the board, I think, is a fantastic board, that for some reason there is some disconnect. Casa could be, I mean, it is so unique. We drive 45 minutes to an hour for a Spanish immersion Montessori school. There is no reason why this school should not be heads and tails above everybody. And I would just hate to see a school with the teachers, the kind of caliber of teachers that we have. I mean, I can just name, going in and out of these classrooms, Miss Abedi, Senora Leon, Senora Glenn, Senora Matamati, Senora Collazo is a parent to everybody. Senora Valdez, Celeste is a diamond. She is an absolute blessing in that school. And the administration, 2 of which are leaving us, I just can't believe we cannot work together. I worry that the board doesn't have a good day in and day out idea of what's going on in Casa every day. And I do feel like there needs to be more input from the teacher perspective. I know a lot of charter schools fail. They say 50% after 15 years fail, and it's because of mismanagement. So I really hope that we can all work together to make Casa the beautiful community that it can be. We all see that. We know it can be. And I hope we can work together to figure out a way to make it prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. Okay. All right, we will move on to announcements. Are there any announcements from either Ms. Connor or the board?
I don't have any, Ms. Taylor.
Okay. All right, if no others, then we will proceed on with the head of school report, please, Ms. Connor.
Sure, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Oh, no, I can't. Do you want to share it, Ms. Taylor, or do you want me to just run through it?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It should be on for.
it says, oh yeah, now it's working.
Okay.
There we go. It's okay. I assume you guys can see the report? Yes, okay, awesome. So just an update on our enrollment. We are at 538 students total currently. You can see the negative ones are withdrawals since our last board meeting. And those are 4 students that relocated, really 2 families, 2 students in each family, but both have relocated out of state. So those were the reasons for withdrawals. The academic health and updates, we are continuing with Blitz, our end of year Blitz, which has proven to be pretty successful this year. And just as a quick summary, our end of year Blitz is just an opportunity for us to spiral back to any standards that were maybe covered in the earlier part of the year, help students with specific skills that may prove helpful as they prepare for their end of grade assessments. Even things like bubbling bubble sheets that students need practice with. So we've dedicated a significant amount of time in these past 3 weeks, and we'll continue 1 more week for students to engage in highly engaging and standards aligned activities and assignments that allow them to have the practice that they need to close out the year, and also provide us with information to know that our students have mastered or are able to demonstrate some level of mastery on the standards for their grade level. State testing begins next week for accommodation groups. So only our students with accommodations will be testing next week. And then starting on June 1st, so after the Memorial Day holiday, June 1st, we'll start with our general testing groups, our larger testing groups. And testing will continue through June 4th. We will have makeup testing on June 4th. And I've listed here, this is a topic, I forgot to mention this earlier, Ms. Taylor, but maybe something that we need to discuss, possibly moving June 4th to a remote day. It's a Friday, but we can't really anticipate numbers for makeup testing. And because our window for general groups is so short, it will be helpful to not have students in the building on that day so that we can have as many classrooms and faculty members available to accommodate small group testing and general group makeup testing. So anyway, we can revisit that later, but I just wanted to bring attention to that because students would be remote, but faculty would be on campus to possibly accommodate that because we really have no idea how many students will need makeup sessions. And then the assessment data that has been shared with the board is still linked there. I will be providing some updates very shortly for our May data, but the enrollment data has been updated and our NC Check-in 3 data is there. We're still working on curriculum consumables for the based on the 21-22 enrollment projections. I'm trying to have more solidified numbers before ordering those because we'll need to order some extras. So I want to kind of wait until we have a better idea of what enrollment will look like for 21-22. We have, we've pulled from the wait list. We haven't pulled from the wait list. We've filled all of our kindergarten seats and still have quite a few students on our wait list. I'm going to shift real quick. We currently still have about 60 or more students on the wait list for kinder immersion and the same for kinder enrichment. So if we need to make any shifts, we're prepared to do that from the wait list. I'd just like to have more solid numbers before we order things. Our EC caseload has shifted a little. So we now have 49 students receiving services and 2 students that are pending eligibility. So we're anticipating before the close of this school year for 2 additional students to possibly be eligible. We don't know until that meeting occurs. And then there are 3 students who will be exiting from services and 3 new students who will be receiving services in the 21-22 school year based on our new enrollees. So that number will stay fairly consistent. It is requiring, though, that we add back our EC teacher position, which was already planned for. School year planning, so the payroll calendar I'll be sharing in just a bit. Staff placement has been completed for the most part for the 21-22 school year. And I have shared the end of year checklist with our faculty, and we'll also be working on tightening up our pacing and planning guides that we used this year that were planned last summer in preparation for next school year for all content areas and grade levels. And then for staffing, we have filled our anticipated positions for 21-22 immersion. We've tentatively filled those. Of course, they're pending official contracts. And then we still have a vacancy for 3rd and 4th grade enrichment, language arts, and social studies for the 21-22 school year. But I do have 2 candidates that I will be interviewing in the next week or so. And I anticipate that position being filled from one of those candidates as well. Staff needs, we don't have any specific staff needs from an administrative perspective, but there are licensure renewals in progress for those students, or not students, for the faculty members that are in their licensure renewal year. Spirit Week was this week, and I have some photos that have been shared by some of our classrooms that I can share via email. And then the last 2 sections there are just dates to remember. We have McTeacher Night and Chipotle Family Night next week, as well as during our last week of school, Field Day, our end of year book fair, and then our last day of school, which is a full day on June 11th. And that's all I have, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, Ms. Connor.
Welcome.
I want to apologize, Dan, if I could just hang on 1 second. Let's hold any questions from the head of school report. I actually meant to move up one of the items about the job description in our org chart with Dr. Miller, just because his time is limited. So board members, if you're okay with that, can we hear from Dr. Miller and then come back to questions about the head of school report? Okay, sorry,
Sure.
Dr. Miller, go ahead.
No problem. Thank you, members of the board. And yes, I have to coach my son's 8-year-old baseball team, and you cannot leave a bunch of 8-year-olds running around the field without adults. So if I'm not there, that'll be a problem. Do I have sharing rights? Yeah.
Yes, you should.
Perfect. You want me to start with the org chart?
Sure.
Yeah. So this was some of the work that was asked to be done, and in conversations with leadership and the board, one of the things that we identified, I'm trying to present it here, identified was the number of employees being supervised by the head of school. And so what we wanted to do is to make sure that we balance that number out to be closer to better practices. So you'll see here the head of school in the previous org chart was overseeing everybody, and was about 50 staff members. So with the recommendation of bringing an assistant head of school, back into the organizational chart, allowing them to supervise half of the teaching faculty, the interventionalist and the counselor, and all this can be amended, by the next head of school, but just making sure that we are balancing out how many people are being supervised. So with here we have the director of finance and operations as one main leg of the organization, the assistant head of school, and then the head of school would supervise the rest of the teaching faculty, which would bring our numbers, closer to a 20-to-1 or 24-to-1 ratio, at least splitting it in half. So this was the first, draft. We'll, continue to work on this, but I didn't know if there was any, initial questions about this org chart as a comparison to the one that's in place now.
I think one of the things for technology and PFA, I guess, are those outlined in different colors to show that they're like separate entities serving the school, or should we visually kind of illustrate that differently?
Well, we just took the model that was there from that aspect. So that's how it showed before. And so the technology, would be your third-party consultant. So that would be a direct line of communication there. So, but we could put that wherever we would like. They're not technically employees.
Right. Okay.
And then one other option too is placing dotted lines from the PFA to the board. I don't know if they have I don't know if they participate in board meetings or anything like that, but that's another option looking at that.
Okay.
And so as we move from here to the job description piece, you know, two of the key pieces we wanted to look at was the human resources aspect. And so under previous job descriptions, all of the human resources was pretty much worked under that position. And in speaking to Ms. Connor, moving the recruitment and development and the hiring, you know, back under the head of school with support of the teaching staff, and then having the finance person just really be responsible for the paperwork was our recommendation there. So that would really create some more time for the finance person, and then moving a lot of the previous accounting work was done under the development position, moving all of that finance work under the actual finance person. So streamlining that position moving forward to be clearly just about finance and operations, and not a human resource you know, entity in terms of you know, all the different roles that they had. So the management of the contracts, of the recruitment contracts for EPI, and recruiting staff, developing staff would fall under the new head of school umbrella, and then the head of school's team, obviously. So that was one of the key changes that we made in the job description, lining up with this org chart. And they would obviously, the director of this finance and operations would oversee non-instructional staff in the front office, all being overseen by the head of school. So I know that
Tom,
was, yeah.
Tom, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
In the box label on your org chart, you've got HR, Director of Finance Operations, and HR. Is that
right.
and HR a mistake? Is that
No, so I didn't change any of the titles. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Ward, because I didn't want to.
I was confused.
Yeah, no, that's I should have said that first. I didn't change any of the titles here based upon the other org chart, because this is not approved, and I didn't want anybody to say, oh, my job has changed or I do something different. These are just recommendations. So I just wanted to show it here, and then we'll take the HR piece off of. But in the job description, it just, you know, shares that they would be responsible for the paperwork of the human resources, and then moving it forward to your third party finance team. And also with the support of, you know, leadership, you know, in the month of June, we would be looking a little bit closer at these non-instructional job descriptions, and streamlining those as well, based upon the key result areas work that we've done, and just making sure that each one of those non-instructional staff are very clear with their role to the goal of the organization. So that work, plus the climate surveys and the things that will be coming out in a couple of weeks, that'll be for the June agenda.
All right. Thanks, Tom. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, you're good. Yeah. If there's any questions, go ahead and email me, and I'll, you know, I'm happy to answer them and do some work. Thanks, everybody. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, we will we'll come back to the discussion on that, and hop right back to the head of school report, which Ms. Connor had finished. Dan, did you have a question or comment for that?
Thanks, Ms. Connor. Just curious for the 3 immersion hires, are those direct hires or those through EPI?
We don't have any direct hire candidates with the exception of 1. So 2 are EPI and 1 is direct hire.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions about head of school report? All right. All right. So we do not have any old business items to discuss tonight, but under new business, we have quite a few. So we'll move right on along, move along to the monthly financial report.
Hey, everybody. Let me share. We're going to look at the document that's also in the folder called Board Report 2021.04 Casa PDF. Well, I thought we were. All right, try this again, sorry. Okay, can everybody see all right? Make it a little bigger. We are 83% through the year, and I unfortunately didn't get much chance to review this till this morning, so we have a few open questions. So we'll be transparent about that, and we'll follow up and with emails or other information. Revenue, I think, is tracking fine. We have, we've been kind of lumpy on revenue all year, but this is consistent with the trends throughout the year. And I don't see any issues with that. Instructional salary, the salary areas look pretty good. You guys will recall that, private programs was very hard to budget this year because we just did not know when we would be able to have in school activities, and hence had different, had to kind of guess when we formulated the budget. And obviously we've done a bit better than that this year, which is good. And you can see some private program salaries as well. Instructional supplies is a space where we are underspent. There were no issues with our supply volumes this year. And Ms. Connor mentioned that they're working on next year's, on ordering next year's materials. And Ms. Connor, my only request would be, let's be sure that we can order those and receive them and pay for them in the current fiscal year. So by June 30, we need to have them rather than have to bear that expense next year. Next year, our financials will be under a lot of scrutiny. So anything we can do to slide expenses into this year is probably a good thing. Media Center is similar. In instructional technology, you will note that we're overspent and the current period activity is $37,000 almost. That is because we bought some Chromebooks to meet future growth expectations. And it was just a good opportunity to go ahead and get those assets on board. We've tried to levelize our asset buying so we don't have a year where we have a large amount of Chromebooks or other computing equipment to buy in a single year. And this is part of that activity. Contracted student services is underspent for the year, and Ms. Connor helped me understand that with much of the year being virtual, there was less of those services needed, and hence we did not spend as much as we expected. We have a research item open on the lease. I think I'm told that our rent was paid, but somehow didn't get recorded. So our friends at CSP are looking into what happened there. And then there's a negative spend in the current month for building maintenance and repair. CSP is also researching this, but my guess, and that I would underscore the word guess, is that that is a function of the fact that we paid for some HVAC work a while back that I believe the landlord reimbursed us for. So I'm guessing the reimbursement showed up this month, but again, we're checking on that. And then I also have an open question to both administration and to CSP about what's going on with insurance and financial because the current year expenditures are quite a bit under budget. So I just want to be sure that we are not missing any policy renewals or anything that would hit that line item, since again, we don't want to have an expense slide over into next year, and we're better off to make sure this year we spend what we have. So that's, I think, the big stuff. I would call your attention to the very last line under the expenses. We have gotten some direction from CSP that we have to book all of our pre-construction expenses against our current year P&L. And we've specifically labeled it an asset there. Our accountants will probably reclass that out of our income statement here when they do the audit. And then that's all pre-construction money that we will get reimbursed for when the bonds are issued. Cash is in good shape, and I think that's it. Are there any questions?
Would you please scroll up so we can see the rest of the financial
Oh, I'm
statement?
sorry. Yeah, my apologies. Did that help?
Yes, thank you.
All right, that's all I have right now, Monique.
Thank you, Alice.
You're welcome.
All right, for the 21-22 school year plan options, we wanted to discuss that. Ms. Connor.
Would you like for me to just share the current status for charter schools in the state?
Sure, I can. Never, on second thought, I guess it's not much of a discussion, but yes, please.
Okay, so at this current time, charter schools are not permitted to offer virtual learning options for families for the 21-22 school year. There has been a bit of a push with that. And so it could change, but at the moment it is not an option. Traditional public school districts do have that option, but they have had to make some changes to their plans as well based on updated legislation. So at the moment, there is no opportunity for virtual learning for families. No Plan C, essentially, is what that means for the 21-22 school year. And so the plan is for all students, all Casa students, to return full-time, 5 days a week, full days, starting on August 3rd, I think is the first day. August 2nd, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I guess with there being nothing for us to decide and really no option at this point, I think we should probably just share that, just so parents don't have lingering questions as we close out this year on what may happen with the next year. I mean, I think that's all we can do. Right? Any other comments or thoughts? Board members, any other comments or questions on that? None?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll move right on to the draft payroll calendar. If you all have had a chance to look at that in your folder as well.
Ms. Taylor, I did make updates based on your feedback, but there may be some other language that you want to include. The most updated version should be in the folder.
I did see that.
Okay.
I don't myself have any other comments, but are there questions or comments about it? So just to kind of remind everyone, we've discussed a couple of times just some of the general questions, particularly when employees move away from the school. And after having a review of those things and just an overall investigation of processes, this is one of the recommendations that we make sure we put into print, what periods are being paid for and what paycheck. So that's what this payroll calendar attempts to do. I feel like it addresses, addresses those points based on what's currently happening. But is there any other language that you all would recommend editing on the calendar? So Ms. Connor, I don't believe, and you can certainly please tell me if you would rather have us vote on it anyway, but because it's an administrative document that doesn't change any of the policy, I don't believe the board needs to vote on this. What's your feeling on that?
I'm perfectly fine with it. I think one of the things that was really important to me is that I make a recommendation that protects the 24 pay periods and that initial payment for the year being on July 15th, because our faculty hasn't had a chance to kind of prepare for that for this year. So there could be some changes, I guess, after this year, but I think based on the timing of it all, I just wanted to make sure that I brought it to the board so that we could confirm the first payment for faculty for the year being on July 15th. Because last year there was a recommendation by Ms. Foley that we shift it to July 30th, but that would have caused a gap for some of the employees. And because we haven't discussed that again, I just thought it would be best to make this proposal that includes that payment again this year, but clarify for any employee who leaves before their contract term ends, that there would need to be that repayment of those 2 weeks that are essentially an advance payment.
Understood. Okay. I agree. It would be definitely too much too soon to change that. All right. Any other comments from the board? Concerns with this? No, I see heads shaking. No, all good. Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Connor, for combing through that and making it more clear for faculty.
Sure.
Next up, but on a related note, is revised contract template. This also comes in part of a result of the evaluation of just policies and processes. So there it's the CMCS employment contract 21-22. If you are, okay, so I wasn't sure in the preview mode. If you are looking in the PDF version there, we have highlighted changes that the attorney has suggested and approved of. So not many, some just aligning the understanding or language of what's in there. Again, just going back to the clarity of the dates included in their contracts as it corresponds to the school calendar and the number of days worked. Were there any questions from that? No, okay. Okay, this is something that the board will need to approve so that this becomes the new template used for contracts. And we do need to do this tonight because it is time sensitive for Ms. Connor, as she's already been waiting so that she could prepare those. So if there are no further questions or comments on it, could we have a motion to approve the 2021-2022 employment contract?
So moved. This is Mike.
I second. This is Soraka.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the utility gas retro expenses. So I tried to summarize some of the correspondence and included the backup from the landlord, BPG, but Ms. Cook was very instrumental in getting this passed through the attorneys and kind of vetted out with the landlord. But the bottom line is that it didn't move from the initial demand from the landlord. But the attorneys ultimately felt that it's in the school's best interest to move forward with the payment that's been requested. So in a nutshell, the landlord had failed to pass along the utility gas expense since 2017. They've since brought that to our attention. There is an outstanding balance of $24,039.59, and they've included the backup for that, which again, we've had the attorneys look through already. Rather than go back and forth to legally battle a statute of limitations, they felt that that legal battle could end up being more costly than the difference anyway, which was, I think, about $2,000 if they were to exclude that the year that goes beyond statute. And also out of interest of maintaining the relationship for since we're still here. So that's it in a nutshell for all of the fun reading that you've done there. What we wanted to do tonight, obviously we don't need to approve the fact that it's going to be an expense going forward, but we would like to make official that the board authorizes for that payment to be cut to the landlord to pay for our past gas expenses. Ms. Cook, did I cover that well, or just holler if I missed anything?
No, that was good. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Barb,
Motion to
Ms.
approve the
Cook,
payment.
what's the payment amount? I just wanted to make sure I get that.
Sure, $24,039.59.
Thank you. And then can we be sure to book that and expense it this year before June 30?
Definitely. I think they wanted the money like
a week ago or something. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So Dan put a motion out to approve. Do we have a second?
I can second. It's Alice.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Next up.
Just a question. So this is, I guess, to Ms. Connor. I know there were significant different baskets of COVID funds that came in this year. Some of them with earmarks for certain destinations and some not, or some less earmarked or less requirements in terms of where exactly it went for schools. Is it possible that we have any of that money from the federal or state level that we can utilize towards towards this?
I would probably not want to do that because it's past expenses. And the COVID funds were for current and future expenses.
Okay. So the ones for this year in which we received them, the portion of it would certainly be okay to use then, since those were from this year. But the
I
other,
would leave that up to the board to decide because those are federal funds that need to be, we have to provide pretty specific documentation on why we use the funds in the way that we did. So I would yield back to the board in making that decision.
yeah, I'm certainly not saying to go outside of the boundaries. I just don't know what they are.
I kind of doubt that there's much of a case for that, Dan, but we can certainly look at the grant rules.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Okay. All right. For the next item that was added, so this is something that actually came up 2 years ago. It kind of falls in our lap when we're just looking for different networks to help, get the word out. But this time, I think it's really worth us considering the membership in the North Carolina Association of Public Charter Schools. So they've shared what their membership benefits are. One, of course, would be that we can share our job descriptions, but that's just from the short-sighted perspective, if you will. You have in your folder there membership benefits. I'm bringing it forward to the board today because I would like for us to go ahead and do it and get started ASAP, not only for the short-term benefits, but also because they provide a nice wealth of education. And as I understand, even some type of legal newsletters that could benefit the school and the administration, just to have access to all of that. They also have annual job fair. So they actually just had one that was virtual, but there's a list of benefits. The cost is $350 per student, according to the 2020 ADM. So I didn't recall at the time what that exact number was. I estimated at 550 students, and that puts us at just under $2,000. But what does the board feel about this, about becoming a member as the school?
This is Rock. I guess I'm curious, have we never been a part of this historically, the school itself? And then what are other charters? I mean, some of the larger ones and some of the ones that have been around as long as we have, are they members as well? Like your Voyager, your Sterling? I'm just curious. And I mean, is there a lot of networking, especially for the administrative level opportunities?
Sure. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I don't know, and I haven't done a lot of digging on their website to see if you can find like which other schools are members of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure who else is. I know that Ms. Connor feels it's worth our consideration. And I also, let me see, give me 1 second here.
Ms. Taylor, do you mind if I share just my thoughts on it, just based on my experience?
Please do.
I have been a member, an individual member, as well as been a part of charter schools who were members. And I think from just the networking standpoint alone, I find value as a school leader, primarily because in the charter sector, there are few opportunities for charter school leaders to collaborate, engage, network with one another. But the membership, I mean, it doesn't force that, but it provides more opportunity for that And then there's just always someone to consult with if you are thinking about some major plans or just wanting to share, thoughts for something new or different you want to do. And there is a legal update and newsletter. I actually received that now based on my previous membership, but it provides updates that sometimes are incredibly important to the charter community and aren't always publicized. So it just gives a different level of insight and access to the charter sector and things that specifically impact the charter sector that otherwise you'll get the information, but it's not always in a timely manner. And then there's also the level of advocacy for charter schools. So one of the reasons why, or one of the things that, the association and its members and some others that are associated with it are pushing for is, getting clarity on the virtual school option for charter schools for next year. So there are layers to the types of support and resources that are available, but there's also consistent advocacy for things that benefit the charter school community and also things that benefit children who are enrolled in charter schools.
That's great. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much, Connor.
Welcome.
Any other thoughts?
I'm just thinking that to join just basically is going to, if someone is as, let me see how I want to word this. Ultimately, we're going to get out of it what someone puts into it, so to speak. So I think there needs to be a concerted effort that if we do align with this organization, that there's an understanding that involvement and engagement would be expected, if that makes sense. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, that makes sense to me.
As a school leader, I'm sorry, Ms. Perry, go ahead.
You're fine, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as a school leader, I would, as a member, if the school were a member of the association, I would expect from a school leader at least a quarterly update. But there are often like monthly updates. So if there are new things to share, but just to keep the board abreast of any legislative changes that impact the charter sector. But I would think at least a quarterly update from school leadership would make it worth the dollars that would be spent.
Thanks. That brings perspective, and I think that that's something that we could, request that would be included in the head of school report, so that we can, obviously know that it's being utilized and it is being used in the way that we want or feel like it could be or should be.
Any other thoughts? If not, I'd like to know if we can entertain a motion for the board to approve school membership in the North Carolina Association for Public Charter Schools.
I would move that we authorize joining the association.
Second, this is Monica.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. Next up, we will go back to the job description. So, let's see. From the document that Dr. Miller sent before, we can take a look at this. Give me 1 second and I can put it up. guess let me ask first while I'm doing this. In general, does the board feel like there are, significant remaining questions that we have for Dr. Miller regarding this? Because one of the goals was to finalize the description so that we could agree on getting the listing posted. But I certainly don't want to rush that if we feel like, like we need some more work on this. So we're going to need to just kind of dive into a bit of discussion here. No thoughts at all.
Well, one comment I would make is I think he's proposing that the HR part come out of this description, so the title needs to change. I'm not sure I see the HR duties in here, but oh no, they're there in the job purpose last sentence. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm trying to read. Okay, so the recruitment and development work moves to the head of school role. And then you bring under the accounting work. So
And there's a whole chunk on human resource leadership.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Alice. There's a chunk in there.
So then would it be that this entire section here moves out and goes under, would go under head of school or assistant head of school? Right, because
I think that's what he was saying. I mean, I got a bit confused.
Yeah, that's what I understood. I thought he was going to his proposal recommendation was to separate those two.
Ms. Taylor, I just want to chime in based on the org chart and as it may relate to this position and this job description. There's not currently an assistant head of school built into the budget for 21-22. So I don't know how much of an impact that has or if the budget just needs to be revisited.
We need to fix that.
Okay.
That's on my list to take care of. Thank you, though.
But was that the only thing though, Ms. Connor? Like if we were going to have that built into next year, are you saying that would then work, or are there other things that you note from this recommendation?
No, I'm not sure. Dr. Miller and I didn't discuss an assistant head of school role. So I'm not sure how it's built in or beyond, being responsible for half of the faculty. I'm not sure what other responsibilities it would carry. So I don't know then if there's an impact on this particular role or not.
Okay. Okay. So on the part though, so let's say this whole HR block were to move out from under this position, and then didn't he talk about the fact that this role would be assuming kind of the accounts payables part and just passing that along to the third party vendor? right? So it becomes more like finance and functional.
Yeah, he said finance and operational.
The only other question that popped in my head as I was reading it was, we have custodians in there, but and maybe this is a future change, but when we have a new building, there will be a certain amount of building operations, security system, making sure that the right maintenance activities happen. I don't know that all of that falls on the custodians. So does that need to be incorporated?
I think it does actually, Alice. This is Rocco. In the tour we took on whatever that was, Tuesday, Monica and I, Dean, one of the things that they mentioned was having that as a consideration, some sort of facilities management oversight. And it's not, it's more than the custodial, like a long-term, having a gauge for, okay, these air filters need to be changed at this point in time. The paint needs to be refreshed at this point in time, just an overall how to maintain the longevity, health of the building.
Yep. That makes perfect sense to me. And things like, snow removal contracts and whatever that our landlord handles today. So.
Okay, are there any other areas that kind of jump out at us as, we've got, highlight this, we know that this is coming out and that we need to change the title of the position itself. But I think we can get this to, an agreeable point where we can post this, right? Because we need to. And that would still be a full-time position. Portion. I guess one of my main questions, though, what do we feel about the fact, for example, the benefits, insurance matters, that's all, in here as well. I don't really know, that's something. So let's say we have a gap, right, in the beginning of the year before there's an assistant head of school. Maybe not, but let's just kind of talk that through. Don't we need to be aware of, where that falls in the interim? Is all of that still going to be under the head of school role, along with the payroll and the PTO and all of that? I know we have CSP for processing, the payroll itself, but someone's, submitting it.
There's a certain amount of work that's done by Ms. DeMont today, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like the benefits, anything that's related to benefits, that's going to be HR. Insurance, seems like that's more of finance. Obviously the HR person would go over how insurance works, but as far as maybe like payment of renewal, I don't see why that couldn't fall under finance unless you guys beg to differ.
No, I agree.
License, I think that should fall under HR, that he or she stays on top of that, but obviously it would be the expectation of finance to pay for any type of expenses related to license. But I would want someone just for credentials and all that, to the HR person, to make sure they know, I don't know, 6 months in advance, a year in advance, whatever it is, that someone is needs to renew or it's about to expire, so that we're not caught in a bad place in that regard. But I normally would put that under HR because it's usually tied into a requirement of employment. So although some of these things will overlap, I think most of it will fall under HR, and anything that's related to payments or an expense, that's where the finance person would assume that responsibility.
I think there are some other HR bullet points sprinkled in other rows of this table, like external development leadership. There's verifies eligibility for employment, new employee paperwork, liaison regarding benefits plans. That all reads to me like HR functions.
Yeah, like the instructional part, as far as providing all training of new hires. I mean, it's one thing if it's, oh, well, I was going to say training on like the payroll system or something along those lines, but that should still all be under HR as well.
And Monique, the ones I was referencing are right in the bottom row of the table. Yeah.
Sorry, Mike, what were the other ones other than the liaison?
The next two underneath it.
The I-9 and
the managerial leadership. The one where it says verify substitute login. I'm assuming that's related to maybe compensation, or I don't know. That seems like it's more personnel.
I don't know. Ms. Connor, what is substitute login?
I have
Is
no
that just
idea. Yeah, I don't know if it's just a platform where they're checking in and out, clocking in and out, but other than that, I'm not sure.
Can I can I say something? Ms. Taylor?
Yes, I'm just lost. Is that you, Ms. Cook?
Yes.
Sorry,
So
go ahead.
whenever substitutes come in, there's a book and they fill out a log. So they log in their time, and then that gets handed into whoever does payroll.
Okay. Okay.
So that's what that means.
substitute time cards, in other words.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can, thank you for that. We can definitely then move. I can type.
And this is what we would post publicly.
Correct.
Seems to me like it gets into a heck of a lot of detail for something that says essential duties and responsibilities. I'm just a little concerned that an applicant would see this and be like, oh, my essential duties are like 100 things. Maybe they are in reality, but are we going to scare off candidates?
Well, only from my experience with HR and job descriptions, the essential duties, that falls under ADA, that you have to list these things, Mike. So I don't know if that's what you mean, that I know that that's something that generally I've been seeing in job descriptions. And it's one of those best practice recommendations, I guess you could say, when it comes to job descriptions. I don't know if that's what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm vaguely familiar with that, that you try to do that in a way so that you can avoid getting in trouble for not providing accommodations later by saying, look, we told you it was an essential part of your job. But I mean, I don't know, maybe that's why we have that language, but to me, for a job posting, okay, your essential duties are, and it just goes, like I said, it's probably, I haven't counted them, but it's dozens and dozens of bullet points. Is it just going to be overwhelming to somebody who looks at this? But I don't know, food for thought.
I think it's a good question, Mike. I mean, I think for the posting, the essential duties could be reworded, perhaps. I mean, a reader of it isn't going to understand Power School and ECE and all that anyway. So maybe you generalize some of those statements for the posting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely a good idea to figure out what we want this position to be doing, and probably at this level of detail. I just wonder if, there's that jargon issue, and then there's the volume of bullet points. This person just going to say, boy, this seems like a lot for, whatever we're offering.
I think there's a bullet missing in the managerial. I think it's in the managerial leadership about reviewing the not saying this right, reviewing the performance of our accounting firm, CSP or whoever, and assuring that their products look complete and accurate. Case in point being all the stuff that didn't look right on this month's financials that I didn't catch until this morning. I could send you a bullet, Monique.
Perfect. See, Alice is where that's ending. All right. All right, so I feel like this is like good stuff. Why don't we just take another couple minutes and kind of comb through each bullet and maybe highlight the ones that we feel we could pull out, or maybe put into like I don't know, an addendum, or additional preferred skills or something, to Mike's point, just so we can tidy up and shorten it. I mean, we have something like I think the head of school job description is like a page and a half. I don't know. Part of me is like, previously we had kind of tossed around the idea of this not being a director role, in which case I definitely would have said simplify it, but I don't know.
And Monique, I was thinking about the title, the director title as well, but as we go into having sold bonds and we have to meet quarterly with bondholders and everything, I think the title probably needs to be something at the director-ish level, just to provide credibility. like, I don't know that they will it would sit well to send your accounting manager to that meeting.
I think as long as they knew their stuff, but I mean, there's something to be said, yes, about the
I
title.
mean,
but
it's
I
just
think-
kind of an appearance thing. I agree. It's maybe fluff, but could be reality.
But I think it also, director title will also justify the task and responsibilities that are expected, similar
That's
to
what I'm saying. Yeah.
what Mike is saying, that, I mean, it's, for some corporations, it's seen as a C-suite type of position or right up under. So, and honestly, when we take out a huge chunk of the HR responsibilities, I'm not seeing anything that seems overwhelming. I mean, the cultural leadership, I mean, that's what you and I had corresponded about, Monique. I think that should be a part of everyone's job description. But all the other things, it seems like it is straightforward. And I agree with what Alice is saying, that there's going to be a higher level of expectation out of this role, out of this position, with us moving forward. So.
Fair point regarding excising all the HR stuff. Maybe it does get to a more reasonable list at that point.
Yeah, I think when I was speaking with Dr. Miller, just based upon the number of employees, like I honestly feel that the HR director position, that's going to be that person's, that's the majority of what he or she should be doing. And splitting these duties, I just don't think, I think it's just a disservice to faculty and staff, and to the person that would be overseeing the responsibilities at hand, knowing that those numbers will be increasing going forward. So.
You're saying you don't feel we should be separating them?
No, that's what I'm saying. We should. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the position, and that's why I think it's critical that we're looking at the organization, the organizational chart of Casa, because how it was set up, 5 years ago, the school is outgrowing that structure. And if we don't adjust, then I think it's going to be taxing for anyone if we keep it as is, if that makes sense. So it's just, the positions are evolving as the school is.
Gotcha. One of the things, as I look at the cultural leadership block, I feel like it's theoretically great. If I'm being honest, when I think about, and maybe it speaks to the shift or growth that you're referring to, Monica, but when I think about the finance position, if we were participating in an interview, and what does that look like? How does the finance director, how do they become responsible for those things, particularly staff, students, parents. I feel like the previous role was not really as directly involved from day to day, with each cohort. So.
Well, I just see it as like most people are thinking that a finance director is someone that's sitting at their desk, pushing numbers and things along those lines. But realizing that, a financial director may have to speak to a parent about a late tuition payment or something along those lines. And they are a representative of Casa. So we want to make sure that they, have the ability to communicate in a way that is not, that doesn't cause any rifts between an administrator or, someone on the faculty of Casa with a parent. So that's what I'm advocating for, that, as far as cultural leadership, they understand that how they're communicating with the community, they might be good at communicating numbers, but there's still an element of, respect and an element of diplomacy and tact that we would expect out of this role, or any role for that matter. That's
Well,
where
maybe there's a point to be made there that I think you bring up a good point, that something in the position description that says something to the effect of part of the senior leadership team of the school and expected to foster community and support the overall mission and vision of the school, and work effectively with all constituents, something like that.
Gotcha. I like the fact that when you talked about that being part of the leadership team. Yes. I mean, I like what's there already. I just was trying to think out loud about what that means. Let's see.
and also because there is sensitive information that these individuals will have access to, whether it's, I don't know, social security numbers, payroll information. There's a level of expectation that we can trust this individual with delicate information, and that they are not crossing any boundaries. I mean, we understand that it goes without saying. Common sense would say that you don't do those things, but in my experience, you have to tell what the expectation is. Otherwise, that opens up the opportunity for assumptions, and we don't want them to assume that we would, allow that type of conversing or crossing boundaries to ever take place. So I guess that's where that comes. I think that job descriptions, we're putting our expectations in writing, but ultimately setting this individual up for success. So at the end of the day, it's almost our responsibility to make sure we tell them everything that we expect. And I don't know, it makes it very easy, in my opinion, to fulfill those expectations if we're crystal clear in the beginning. So.
No, I agree. Good point. I think that's fine as it is. If I could jump up, and then maybe we'll just start to comb.
Monique?
Yep.
Hey, one just basic question with respect to job descriptions. So in the org chart that Tom put together, the proposed revised one, obviously several individuals will report to this position. So how is that typically? Is that expectation? We should have that expectation in here, right? That they're supervising or coordinating with A, B, C, D, or if we want to leave it flexible with individuals as designated by the board or something like that. I mean, because it's obviously, if it's a significant leadership positions we're talking about, it reads like it's a financial position that's important, but obviously it does a few other things. Anyway. Also, at the end of the first paragraph, there's an HR sentence that you probably want to highlight.
Thank you. Can you jump back to your, what was, so
my only question is, would we typically include this, if this position is acting as a supervisor for multiple individuals, which I believe the position does that under Tom's rubric, then we'd want to have something that's pretty clear about that, right? That this is a leadership position over multiple positions. I don't know. And if it's already in there, it's already in there. There's references to leadership in the first part of the table there, but it never hurts to be explicit, right? To know that you're going to be supervising people.
Okay, so do you feel like it would go here for managerial?
Sure. You could go managerial, or it could go under, yes. I mean, that's fine. I don't feel strongly about it.
Were you saying to put it up at the top?
Hang on. Sorry, I'm looking at the sheet on my phone here.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not strategic leadership. I guess it would be managerial leadership. And
So Seth, are you thinking of a bullet in there, something like provides coaching performance feedback, mentoring to assigned direct report employees, something like that?
Yeah, just something so it's
To
clear.
acknowledge that it's a management job, right?
Precisely, yes.
Yeah, I would just call it out and say direct supervision of employees.
Employees as
Yep, that's good.
determined by.
Yep. I mean, it may even be contractors at times, so you could say both.
All right, I'm gonna first try to. All right, sorry, I'll come right back to that. I was trying to copy over. Alice, for this second bullet, do you feel like we should put that under strategic? I mean, you refer to strategic financial.
Yeah, that's fine. That's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that, but yes, that would be great.
Okay. I feel like
Sorry.
it, so, no, I
It
really
goes better
appreciate
there.
the language. I felt like it also fits in because it'll replace or go with this. I was actually trying to come to this first bullet here because I feel like it needed to be clarified. You know, we're saying this role reports to the head of school, and then the first essential duty is to, you know,
Serve the board. Yeah, that's a little off.
right. So I feel like that's implied, you know, just with understanding the structure of the organization, but I'm not particularly comfortable with the language here because it
Yep.
sounds like the work is coming directly from the board.
I would agree.
I almost just want to blend what you have with what he has. Well, I mean, you've pretty much said it all. I feel like I could remove this one. What do you all think of that?
I agree.
Okay. All right. Sorry, and then I'll jump back. I don't know why my brain is fogged on this one more time. So are you wanting to put supervises up somewhere up in here, or you want to move it down here into the table?
I would put it in job purpose, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, it's for the kind of person who's interested in it, it would be a benefit or an advantage for the position.
And they'll know up front, you know, that it's
Right.
almost like you start, the job purpose is, okay, bam, this is why they're creating this position or why this position exists. And they're going to know, they're not going to have to search down and find that they're going to be supervising. They're going to know up front. If they think it is just a position where supervision doesn't take place, that'll catch their attention right out the gate.
Sure, and would raise some questions if you get to the bottom of the page and then discover that it has supervision, right?
So do we want to just say employees or administrative and operational employees and contractors, or what, how?
You'd say employees and potentially contractors.
Yes, because it could be any or all of those.
Do you think we need to say designated or assigned? Oh, there you go.
just did
Never mind.
as assigned.
Okay.
Good
There you
job.
All right. Let's see. So we've already taken, I think with those sections, it's already about half a page. If we remove the highlighted sections. And I'm going to add here to ensure the school's goals are met. All right, anything else? Let's see. I think that's everything. And we're good with this school finance development and operations director.
I'm good with that.
Works for me.
Yep.
All right, so we'll prepare to vote on this description, excluding everything that's highlighted.
I make a motion to vote on the revised, what was it, HR, no, finance, development, and operations director job description.
I can second that. It's Alice.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Seth, are you good?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of approving the like as modified, right? Like we're not approving the actual thing with all the highlights on it. So just not to be cute about it, but
No, yeah, it was excluding the parts that we highlighted. So
right.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right.
And I think that to Seth's point, once this goes before Dr. Miller, he makes the changes, we need to see a final copy just to make sure everything that we've decided and discussed in his absence are, is obviously captured and we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. Okay. 1 second. All right. Moving next on the agenda was the board draft communication. I don't have all of the completed feedback yet that we're waiting on. So, I mean, that said, I would like to just, wait until we have the final comments on it. But Yeah, I mean, that would be my recommendation. What do you all think? I think alternatively, if anyone feels, particularly strongly, what we could do to move it along as well um, is to approve what we have thus far, with the exception that we'll make any final adjustments that are recommended. I mean, I kind of feel like that's our only two options.
Do we have an idea of when we'll get the feedback?
I'm hoping by tomorrow. It was supposed to be, by now. So I just haven't been able to get a response just yet.
Well, I think at this point, comments, feedback from the board has been, it's been solicited, opportunity has been provided. And if we're just waiting for the sign off, if we can get that, tomorrow, I don't see the need to approve something today when it might be ready for delivery tomorrow or whenever. I don't know how that's going to work. I guess at this point, if there are any changes to what we have proposed, then there'll need to be a final review and sign off on that before it's submitted, right?
Right. So, I mean, that's my point though. So if we don't feel comfortable that once we have a final review that everyone's going to be automatically comfortable with that, I totally get that. Then I feel like we're not in a position where we can do it, but we do need to keep in mind basically that we'll have to call another meeting, in the interim to approve it, or we will just wait until June 3rd, which I think is our next scheduled meeting. But I mean, then we're also going to have to, so you could choose to set one now, so that we have the appropriate notice, like 2 days from now, because it really doesn't qualify as an emergency. I mean, do you all get what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I do.
So ultimately, if we get feedback tomorrow and a chance to review it, we could have the 2-day notice. We could have a meeting on Monday or Tuesday to approve. Is that right? Is that what you're, okay?
Mm-hmm. And it's not a 2 business day notice, so it just will be 2 days.
Right.
Do I take it that's when everyone wants to do?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that works.
We could just go ahead and schedule a meeting Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
And get it posted, so.
And ask Dr. Miller to do his revisions by then too, if we can, and just knock them both out.
Good point, Dan.
Really good point.
Yeah. So for the sake of, I guess, availability and looking at scheduling, if for whatever reason there's further conversations or review that's needed from, I don't know, Dr. Miller, Donna, do you guys want to shoot for Tuesday in case there's 2 business days that they're needing to finalize and then give us a chance to review versus, I don't know, setting ourselves up for Monday and it may not be ready. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that works. That makes sense.
Are we looking at the same time then, like 6 o'clock on Tuesday?
That would
Is there
work for
any
me.
way, does it always, I mean, I don't know what as far as time, but is there any way it can be from it should be quick, hopefully, like 5:30 to 6:30. Is there any way that we can approve that? If not, I don't want to have to work around my schedule, but I do have a commitment at 6:30 I can't get out of. So I could show up at 6, but might have to part ways at 6:30.
I'd be fine starting at 5:30.
So would I.
Me too.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Sure.
Okay. I'll do the same, and Ms. Cook, I'll send you the meeting information for 5:30. Make a note.
And just so I'm clear, that's a tentative. We're not scheduling this just yet. That's a provisional.
No, we're scheduling it
Right.
because, yep, expectation is the work will be returned to us by then.
It's the second round. Got it. Okay. And I have no problem with the time. Thank you.
Thanks, John. All right. Okay, thanks. Before I forget, since we're at the end of the new business, Ms. Connor, did you want the board to vote on, or at least, can we just, authorize you to change the June date virtual if you decide that you need to, so we can just take care of that and you won't have to worry about it?
Yes, ma'am, that would be great if we could.
Okay, does the board approve just adding that here to the end of our business? It would be schedule adjustments due to testing. Can we have a motion just to add that into the agenda now?
Sure. I'll move to add that topic to the agenda for this evening under new business.
Second, this is Dan.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. So we're asking the board to authorize Ms. Connor to adjust the school schedule as needed, including virtual or on campus, based on testing needs. Could we have a motion?
Motion
So
to approve.
moved.
This is Dan.
Second, this is Mike.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Great. Any opposed? Thank you so much. Moving right along, we have committee updates. We will start with board affairs.
Board Affairs met today briefly just to discuss potential policy changes related to the parent organization policy. Just a review. We kind of like to stay on top of policies across the board and look at where changes need to be made for the upcoming school year. There was also a discussion about what our board membership will look like going forward as we enter into the new school year, as we enter into this new building project. Just kind of make sure our application is up to date. We have an interview scheduled for next week. And so that was just touching base with those two items.
Thank you, Saraka. On communications, probably the last task for this year has been the student handbook for necessary and suggested updates. So that's something that's probably going to slide past the end of the current school year. But we have volunteers working on that so that it can be up to date for the next school year. So Ms. Connor, it's a little bit behind when I had initially asked. I know your May is very busy with testing and all. So if we get it back in time, then we'll at least get a first pass from you to make sure that things don't look crazy. Like no significant policy changes, just to update some of the things that have changed over the past 2 years so that it's set for the new year. Okay, thanks. One of the other items is marketing. I left that as a plug there because the communications committee had initially made recommendations about the targeted areas for marketing with the magazine. And the board had agreed to kind of table that until we understood a little more of essentially who was going to be asked or included when it came down to the critical hearings and things like that for Wake Forest. One thing that I wanted to add while we're still thinking about that is Truist made a recommendation that we not pay for marketing, not at this level. She actually provided just some insight, some ideas of what they did for their school as well, and some contacts that might be able to give us some additional ideas and insight on how to get other pulse on the community of what will be our new neighbors. So I was pretty excited to hear that, and basically just kind of support tabling that for now or canceling. So no votes needed there. Development, please, John or Mike.
Hello. So fundraising for fundraising has been sparse, mainly due to the pandemic this school year. It's been, just over a year now. But the development committee has discussed various ideas that would blend into a pandemic environment, as well as existing and new events that will blend into a pandemic or non-pandemic environment. But given the purchase of a new building, the development committee believes there's a solid need to create a capital campaign. Now, the capital campaign would offset a portion of the new school, building different things. Now, we've met with one firm to discuss a formal arrangement to run a capital campaign, and we're reaching out to another firm to hear their input. There's no formal request for funds needed at this time, but just know that it's, the ongoing discussions are there, and it's likely to be at the next meeting we'll have a more formal report for the campaign, the capital campaign.
Thanks, John. That would be awesome. And maybe, we can afford to quadruple, all of the past annual fund efforts. That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, don't put the cart before the horse, but we're discussing various things. Expect to hear something. I don't want to overpromise, but I think we'll have something more tangible to report in the next meeting.
Okay, no pressure.
And this is Saraka, just kind of with that, just to keep a note, I guess, in your conversations regarding the capital campaign, we did a tour of a charter school on the coast this week, and one of the things that Monica and I did, because they pointed out to us as we went through the school, this particular item, like they had a kiln, right, in the art room, and this was actually a fundraising effort done by the parents. This was a fundraising. This was the donation towards this new building. Those are some ideas.
Sorry, Saraka, you kind of cut out after you said kiln by the parents.
Yeah, sorry. They had a kiln in their art room. So she was saying that, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So she was saying that was actually, I think that one, I think the family had donated, but it was something that they had put out there as, okay, this is what we want, for the school. This is what we want in the art room. This is what we want in the gym. This is what for the bleachers. So whether it's a targeted campaign effort and, you have a fundraising goal and set for that particular item, or, hey, big donors, these particular things are school wants, it's our school wish list. So just kind of tying that into whatever capital campaign efforts. If we kind of look at what the specific, as we're growing into this new space, what we need, what we want, and kind of bring the whole community into that effort.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, for
great
example,
ideas.
they don't have a sign on the building, the name of the school, and that's something that the parents wanted to be a part of. So they had enough funding to get the building built, and there are other things that they were holding off on.
Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping, I had my fingers crossed I would get to make that event Tuesday, but I had an obligation change, so I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, anytime someone says beach, I'm going. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, any questions for development committee at all?
I would, since we have Tom kind of working with us now, it might be worth chatting with him, because I think in one of our recent meetings, he made a comment that Explorers tried to do a capital campaign and really struggled. So you may want to find out what went wrong there so we don't repeat.
Yeah, but good thought, Alice. Thank you.
Certainly.
All right.
Thank you, John. All right. For the executive committee, really don't have, well, I guess there's a lot of activity, but not concrete projects at the moment. I think the executive committee is focused on preparing for the board's annual retreat. And we shared a list with you all just so you can contribute any of your thoughts to that as we prepare to put the agenda together. And then once the date's finalized, we'll send out more information to you. Finance committee.
Hi, yeah, thank you, Monique. I thought that tonight, it's been a while since we've looked at our financial projections that we're using for our capital project, our school construction project. And we have a pretty good version, a pretty good update that's a week or so old. So I thought I would just walk everybody through kind of what we're looking at now and answer any questions. So this is in your folder as a PDF, and it's called Bond Option Comparisons. Let me find the share button. There we go. So I would direct us to column J, which is the most recent version of the forecast. And, you know, if you're looking at that whole spreadsheet, you can see the kind of the evolution of this work from back in August of last year to today, where we've had, you know, in December, we had several bond runs, and then January, one more, and then we kind of were working on buying the land. So we didn't do an update till April and now May. Probably the biggest thing that has changed lately is that Truist checked on how the lease exit payment, the lease buyout would have to be financed, and received guidance that would have to be financed with taxable debt as opposed to non-taxable debt. So that is the biggest change between the April and May runs. So without further ado, I'll just walk us through this. But, you know, so we're looking at issuing about $18.9 million worth of bonds. We would receive out of that 18,672 of cash. We use that funds 12.5 for the land and building, 2.8 for the pension, 1.3 for the lease, no, 1 for the lease, pardon me. 1.6 for reserve funds that we have to be in compliance with the debt covenants, and $640,000 for financing fees. The bond structure, there's 3 separate bond issues. The first one is a taxable issue at 4.6 million for 10 years at an interest rate of 6.503. That's gone up a little bit from earlier in the year, but really a tiny, tiny amount. So we're hearing, starting to hear about increasing interest rates, but so far that has had minimal impact on us. Then there would be a tax-free issue that is 20 years in duration at 5.251%, and another tax-free issue of 10 million for 35 years at 5.5. The issue date is October of this year. And from a looking ahead to what this does to our cash flow and our debt obligations, the highest amount of debt service that we would have over the 35 years of this deal is in school, or the year ended 6/30/2029, so 8 years from now, and we would have a $1.6 million debt payment there. All of that would have to come from our school operating funds. We do have some debt service funds, but they just don't happen to be used in that year. The way the run is set up today. Now, all of that can be adjusted. So we're, Truist and I are looking at how to tweak that a little bit, but that's probably not a bad estimate. That's the highest year we would pay. And over the life of this deal, we'd pay $21.8 million worth of interest. Now, I kind of made up this chart as a way of keeping track of what's going on. If anybody wants additional data, please let me know. Or if you have questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
As of today, Ala, and thank you. I thought you did a great job just summarizing all of that. As of today, that column J would be what goes into the Truist presentation. Is that right?
Into the offering circulars, yeah. Now, I do need to work with them. That's why I mentioned in our meeting this morning, we need to move the assistant head of school budget up forward. I think it was scheduled to, the budget for that position didn't start until we were in the new school, so we need to move that up. And we need to look at the new org structure to see if there's any other positions we need to fund that aren't in the forecast. So we have a little tweaking to do in our forecast, but I wouldn't expect it to change this data significantly. Other questions, comments?
Nope, not for me.
All right, thank you.
All right, construction and facility management.
Okay, so ultimately things are going really well. They're moving along as we would expect. Our new neighbors had no oppositions during the Wake Forest neighborhood meeting. So that's obviously a good thing. On Tuesday of this week, as Saraka mentioned, we were able to tour a charter school in Wilmington Coastal. And this was really resourceful. All said, I think it was just a little over 2 hours that we were able to spend with BCCG and a representative from Coastal. What was really nice is that it afforded us the opportunity to see the samples that BCCG left for us at the school to see. We got to see those in person. They did a phenomenal job of explaining why things were positioned the way that they were, just walking us through every aspect of the building, giving us an idea of the typical classroom size, how that ties into just operations, how the administrative offices were set up, details about the window structures, the doors, the type of dooring that would be used. So it was a very elaborate, and you guys will get to see the pictures and a summary of the tour. I can't even remember how many pictures I took, and Saraka as well. So you guys will have a visual tour, and I think I did a video when they were explaining something about, gosh, Soraka, I think it was when we were in that multi-purpose room, they were explaining just some high-level construction wording that I knew I wasn't going to be able to capture and remember. So there'll be a video or two in the information that I provide as well.
Yeah. Did an excellent job of giving us a visual for all of that.
Yes. So we have another meeting scheduled with BCCG. Normally our meetings are every other Tuesday. We would, of course, had our meeting this Tuesday, but the tour took place of the virtual meetings that we're having with them. So they have rescheduled that meeting for Monday, which is going to be like a more of a material review workshop meeting. And then we'll have a meeting the following Tuesday, and then we'll get back on track with every other week. We are still waiting on BCCG's feedback on the construction contract. Michael Caney, our representative, has been corresponding back and forth with BCCG regarding some contract communications, I guess you could say, as we're trying to get that ironed out. And then in conversation with BCCG and Truist, we're continuing to monitor the impact of manufacturing costs and other factors on the project. But with that being said, there are no major concerns from a timeline perspective as far as getting us in the new building for the start of the 2022-23 school year. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Monica. All right. Well, with no further business on the agenda, we will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
You're not gonna.
Second, this is John.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thanks, everyone. Meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening.
You're not gonna talk about the state plan for the teachers? Hello?
Hello? That's not on the agenda for today. No, we're not going to talk about that.
Baby, this is unbelievable. And it's